The Tesseract had always been unpredictable, but Steve Rogers hadn't expected it to tear reality itself apart. One moment he'd been leading the Avengers through a Hydra facility in the Norwegian mountains, the glowing blue cube pulsing with unstable energy as enemy forces tried to weaponize it. The next, space itself fractured, a cascade failure of dimensional barriers that sent Steve tumbling through a vortex of impossible colors and sensations his enhanced mind could barely process. He'd kept his grip on his shield through pure instinct, the vibranium disc the only constant in a universe gone mad. Then he hit ground, hard, and training took over. Steve rolled with the impact, super soldier reflexes absorbing momentum that would have killed a normal man, and came up in a defensive crouch with his shield raised. The first thing he registered, hostile fire, green energy bolts, not bullets, something else, streaking through the air around him. The second thing, he was on a battlefield. Urban environment, crystalline structures that definitely weren't Norwegian architecture. The third thing, the soldiers firing at him wore white armor he'd never seen before, and they were advancing in formation toward his position. "Contact unknown combatant in Sector 7, one of the white-armored soldiers called out, his voice electronically modulated through his helmet. "He's got some kind of shield. Watch your fire." Steve's tactical mind processed the situation in seconds. White armor might be friendlies if they were organized military. Green energy weapons, advanced tech he didn't recognize. Crystalline city under attack, civilian population likely present. And behind the white-armored troops, actual robots were advancing. Skeletal mechanical soldiers that moved with eerie precision. "I'm not your enemy," Steve shouted, staying in his defensive position. "Who's in command here? I'm Captain Steve Rogers, United States Army." The lead white-armored soldier, Steve noted the blue markings on his helmet that suggested rank, raised one fist, and his squad immediately stopped firing. The discipline was impressive. Military training, good training. "Captain Rex, 501st Legion," the soldier responded, his rifle still aimed at Steve, but finger off the trigger. "United States? Never heard of it. You Republic or Separatist?" "Neither," Steve said honestly. "I'm not from around here, but those droids behind you." He gestured with his shield toward the advancing robots. "They look hostile. You need a hand." Rex's helmet tilted slightly, and even through the anonymizing armor, Steve could sense the soldier's assessment, making a command decision. "Intel says you could be a separatist trick, but right now we're outnumbered 3-1 and pinned down." He made a gesture and his troops adjusted formation, creating space for Steve. "You can fight, Captain, prove it. Otherwise stay down and stay out of our way." Steve Rogers grinned, the same expression he'd worn charging Hydra bunkers with the howling commandos. "Soldier, I've been fighting my way out of tight spots since 1943. Let's even these odds." He surged forward, shield raised, and the battle really began. The robots, Steve heard Rex call them clankers over the comm chatter, moved with mechanical precision but lacked tactical creativity. They advanced in straight lines, fired in predictable patterns, relied on overwhelming numbers rather than strategy. Steve had fought Ultron drones. These were simpler, less adaptive. His enhanced speed let him close the distance before their targeting systems could compensate, and his shield did what it did best. The first droid never saw the throw coming. Vibranium struck its head with a metallic clang that echoed across the battlefield, severing the connection between processor and body. The shield ricocheted at a perfect angle, physics and practice. catching a second droid in the chest before returning to Steve's hand. 2 down, and he hadn't broken stride. "What the?" One of Rex's troopers breathed over the comm. "Did that disc just focus fire on the right flank?" Rex barked, his command cutting through the shock. "Whatever he is, he's on our side now. Push forward." The white armored soldiers, clones, Steve would learn, though he didn't know it yet, moved with impressive coordination. They weren't conscripts or volunteers, they were professionals, and they recognized an opportunity when they saw one. Steve's assault had disrupted the droid formation, creating an opening their training had prepared them to exploit. Steve threw himself into close combat with the droids, using his shield as both weapon and defense. Enhanced strength let him tear through their thin armor with strikes that crumpled metal, while his tactical mind tracked positions, angles, and weak points. When a droid raised its weapon toward one of the clone troopers' exposed flank, Steve was already moving, shield thrown in a calculated arc that intercepted the shot and knocked the droid offline. "He just saved 5s, another trooper called out, shock evident even through his helmet speakers. "He's watching our backs." "Then watch his," Rex commanded, and suddenly Steve had covering fire. The clones weren't just competent, they were exceptional. They anticipated his movements, provided suppressing fire exactly when he needed it, created overlapping fields of fire that no droid could penetrate. It was the kind of coordination that took years of training and absolute trust in your fellow soldiers. The kind of coordination Steve hadn't experienced since the Howling Commandos. Within minutes, the droid assault had been broken. 70 enemies reduced to smoking scrap metal and not a single clone casualty. Steve stood in the center of the carnage, breathing steady despite the exertion, shield in hand and blood pumping with the familiar post-combat adrenaline. Around him, the white-armored soldiers, he counted 12 of them, lowered their weapons slowly, their postures suggesting something between respect and disbelief. Captain Rex approached, removing his helmet to reveal a young face, early 20s maybe, though something about his eyes suggested experience that didn't match his apparent age. Dark hair cut military short, a scar through his blonde buzzed temple, and an expression that evaluated Steve with professional assessment. "That was the finest hand-to-hand combat I've seen outside of Jedi," Rex said bluntly. "And you threw that shield like it was guided. Force sensitive?" "No," Steve replied, lowering his shield but keeping it ready. He still didn't fully understand the situation. "Just enhanced. Super soldier serum made me faster, stronger, more resilient. The shield's made of Vibranium, strongest metal where I come from. As for the throwing," he allowed himself a small smile. "That's just practice, a lot of practice." Rex holstered his blaster pistols, a gesture of trust that Steve recognized and appreciated. "Captain Rex, as I said, 501st Legion, Grand Army of the Republic. These are my brothers, 5s, Echo, Jesse, Kix, Hardcase." He rattled off names, each clone nodding in acknowledgement. "We were holding this position until General Skywalker arrives with reinforcements. Then you dropped out of nowhere and turned the tide." "Brothers?" Steve asked, noting the term. "Not squad mates, not soldiers. Brothers. Interesting." "Long story," Rex said. "One you'll need to hear, but first," he gestured to his comm unit. "I need to report this to command. Unknown super soldier drops into active combat zone and starts throwing an indestructible disc around. General Skywalker's going to want to meet you personally." Steve nodded slowly, his tactical mind already working through implications. Grand Army of the Republic suggests organized government military. General Skywalker, singular general commanding multiple units. Clone troopers calling each other brothers. Genetic soldiers. The technology level was centuries beyond anything Earth had, but the tactics, the command structure, the soldier's mentality, that was universal. "I'll answer any questions I can," Steve said, "but I've got a few of my own, starting with, where am I? Because I'm pretty sure I'm not in Norway anymore." Rex actually laughed at that, a genuine sound that humanized him beyond the armor. "Norway? Never heard of it. You're on Christophsis in the Outer Rim. The planet's caught between Republic and Separatist forces. We've been holding this city for 3 weeks waiting for reinforcements." His expression sobered. "But if you really don't know where you are, Captain Rogers, you're in the middle of a galactic war, and you just picked a side whether you meant to or not." Before Steve could respond, the air itself seemed to shift. A presence not physical but palpable approached rapidly. The clone troopers straightened to attention, and Rex's expression became carefully neutral. Steve's enhanced senses detected rapid footfalls, and then a figure appeared from around the crystalline building's corner, moving with inhuman speed and grace. Young man, early 20s, seen wearing robes that suggested religious order or ceremonial significance. Dark blonde hair, intense blue eyes that held both youth and ancient knowledge, and at his belt, a weapon like nothing Steve had seen before. A cylinder that hummed with contained energy, though it wasn't currently active. The young man radiated confidence, power, and something Steve's instincts identified as dangerous despite the relaxed posture. "Rex," the young man said, his voice carrying easy authority. "Got your transmission about an unknown combatant. Obi-Wan's bringing the main force, but I wanted to scout ahead and..." His eyes locked on Steve, and the easy confidence shifted to sharp assessment. "You're not from around here." "Neither observation nor force vision required for that one, sir," Rex said dryly. "General Skywalker, this is Captain Steve Rogers. He appeared through some kind of energy phenomenon, helped us repel the droid assault, and saved my men's lives in the process. Captain Rogers, this is General Anakin Skywalker, Jedi Knight." Steve stepped forward, extending his hand in the universal gesture of greeting he hoped translated across galaxies. "General, I appreciate the rescue your men provided. I'm a bit lost, dimensionally speaking, but I'm willing to help however I can until I figure out how to get home." Anakin Skywalker stared at the offered hand for a moment, then gripped it firmly. His shake was strong, confident, and Steve felt something pass between them. Recognition. One warrior acknowledging another, one leader meeting an equal. "Jedi don't usually shake hands," Anakin said with a slight grin, "but I like your style." That shield throw was incredible, and Rex doesn't give compliments lightly. His expression turned serious. "But you said dimensionally lost. That's not something I've heard before, not even from the Jedi archives." "Long story," Steve replied, echoing Rex's words. "But the short version is, I was fighting in my home dimension. There was an accident involving extremely dangerous technology, and I ended up here. I don't know this place, don't know this war, and don't know how to get back, but I know soldiers when I see them." He gestured to the clones. "And I know duty. If you're fighting for freedom and democracy, I can help." Anakin studied him for a long moment, and Steve had the distinct impression he was being evaluated on levels beyond the physical. Finally, the young general nodded. "We need to bring you before the Jedi Council. They'll want to know everything, where you're from, how you got here, what your intentions are, but... He glanced at Rex, then back to Steve. Rex vouches for you. His judgment means something, and anyone who fights to protect clone troopers without being asked earns at least a hearing. Steve caught the phrasing. Fights to protect clone troopers rather than fights with clone troopers. As if protecting them was unusual, as if they were equipment first and people second. His jaw tightened slightly, but he kept his expression neutral. He needed more information before making judgments. "I'll go wherever you need me to go," Steve said. "But General, these men fought exceptionally well. They deserve commendation." Something flickered in Anakin's expression. Surprise? Approval? Most outsiders don't notice clone performance. They just see the results. He clasped Steve's shoulder. "I think you and I are going to get along, Captain. Welcome to the Clone Wars. It's about to get a lot more interesting." As Rex's squad formed up for extraction and Anakin began coordinating with his arriving reinforcements, Steve looked out over the crystalline city of Christophsis, a planet he'd never heard of, in a galaxy he didn't understand, fighting a war he hadn't chosen. But the principles were the same. Soldiers needed leadership, evil needed opposing, and freedom needed defending. Steve Rogers had been fighting for those ideals since 1943. One more war, one more galaxy didn't change the mission. He tightened his grip on his shield and prepared for whatever came next. If you want to see more characters enter the Star Wars galaxy, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character you'd want to see in the comments below. May the Force be with you. The Republic transport gunship, they called it an LAAT, cut through Christophsis' atmosphere with the kind of turbulence Steve remembered from his days flying into Nazi-occupied territory. The difference was scale. Instead of a single propeller-driven aircraft, he was in a repulsor lift troop carrier surrounded by a full squadron providing escort. The technology was staggering, but the fundamentals remained the same. Soldiers packed into tight quarters, heading toward uncertain fate, trusting their lives to the pilot and each other. Steve sat on the starboard bench, surrounded by Rex's squad. The clones had removed their helmets during the flight, and what Steve saw troubled him deeply. Every face was identical. Same features, same bone structure, same dark hair and brown eyes. 12 men who could have been twins, except for minor variations. Rex's scar, Five's goatee, Echo's handprint tattoo, Hardcase's facial hair. They'd customized their armor with individual markings. Blue for Rex's rank, unique patterns for the others. But beneath it all, they were copies, clones. The word carried implications Steve didn't like. "You're staring, sir," Rex said, his tone neutral but not hostile. "Most Natborns do, first time they really look at us." "Natborns?" Steve asked, though he suspected he knew the answer. "Natural born, not grown in Kamino's cloning facilities." Rex's expression was carefully blank. "We're clone troopers, Captain. Bred from the genetic template of Jango Fett, the galaxy's greatest bounty hunter. Accelerated growth, enhanced loyalty programming, tactical training from birth. We were created to be the Republic's army. Created. Not enlisted, not drafted, created." Steve's jaw tightened. "How old are you, Captain?" Rex hesitated, glancing at his brothers. Fives, the one with the goatee, spoke up instead. "Chronologically, about 10 standard years since decanting, but we age twice as fast as Natborns, so physiologically we're early 20s. We hit battlefield readiness at 10 years old." He said it matter-of-factly, without emotion. "We're soldiers, sir. It's what we were made for." 10 years old. These professional warriors sitting around him, men who fought with discipline that would shame most career soldiers Steve had known, were children by any reasonable measure. Children bred for war, trained from birth, sent to die without ever having a choice in the matter. Steve had liberated concentration camps. He'd seen what happened when human beings were treated as resources rather than people. This was different in execution, but identical in philosophy. Beings created for a purpose, denied autonomy, expected to sacrifice without question. "You have names," Steve said carefully. "Rex, Fives, Echo, not just numbers." "We have designations," Rex corrected. "CT-7567, that's my official identity. But General Skywalker," his expression softened slightly. "He insists we use names if we want them. Says it's important for us to be individuals, not just identical soldiers. Most Jedi don't care one way or the other. Most Nat-born officers just call us by designation or don't bother at all. We're all clones. Why does it matter?" "It matters," Steve said firmly, meeting Rex's gaze. "Every man matters. I don't care if you're born, made, or dropped from the sky in a lightning bolt. You think, you feel, you fight for something. That makes you a person, not equipment. Anyone who treats you otherwise isn't worthy of commanding you." Silence fell in the troop bay. The clones stared at him with expressions Steve couldn't quite read. Surprise, certainly, but something else beneath it. Hope? Confusion? As if what he'd said was radical rather than basic human decency. "You're not like most Nat-borns," Fives said finally. "No offense meant, but most of them see us as meat droids, biological battle droids. We follow orders, we win battles, we die, and they replace us with the next batch from Camino. You're the first officer outside the Jedi who's talked about us like we're actually people." Steve felt anger building, controlled, focused anger of the type that had driven him through the super soldier program and into battle against impossible odds. But this wasn't the time or place. These men needed a leader, not a revolutionary, not yet. "Where I come from," Steve said carefully, "we fought a war against people who believed some human beings were superior to others, who thought they could breed perfect soldiers and use them as weapons without consequence. We called them Nazis, and we beat them because we believed every person has inherent worth regardless of their origin. I didn't fight that war just to turn around and accept the same philosophy wearing different clothes." "The Republic isn't the enemy," Rex said, but his tone carried doubt. "We're fighting the Separatists, the Confederacy of Independent Systems. They want to break away from the Republic, and they're using droid armies to do it. We're defending democracy." "Are you?" Steve challenged gently. "Or are you being used by people who claim to value freedom while building an army of slaves?" The word landed like a thermal detonator in the enclosed space. Several clones flinched. Hard Case, the energetic one with the wild hair, looked like he'd been struck. "We're not slaves," Echo protested, but his voice lacked conviction. "We serve the Republic by choice." "Did you choose to be created?" Steve asked. "Did you choose military service? Did anyone ever ask if you wanted a different life, or were you just told what your purpose was and expected to fulfill it?" Rex's jaw clenched. "You don't understand, Captain. We're made for this. We're good at this. Take away our purpose as soldiers, and what are we?" "You're men," Steve said simply. "Men who deserve the chance to figure out who you want to be, not who you were designed to be. I was enhanced, made into a super soldier against my will initially, but I had a choice. I could have stayed Steve Rogers, underweight and asthmatic. The serum gave me abilities, but I chose what to do with them. You never got that choice. The transport shuddered as it began its descent toward Coruscant, the galactic capital, Rex had explained. Through the open bay doors, Steve saw a planet that was entirely city. Endless towers stretching toward the sky, aerial traffic flowing through designated lanes, billions upon billions of beings stacked vertically in a civilization so vast it had consumed its entire world. Approaching Jedi Temple landing platform, the pilot announced. ETA, 2 minutes. Anakin Skywalker appeared from the forward compartment where he'd been coordinating with command. His expression was troubled, and Steve suspected the young general had been listening to the conversation through the Force or simple eavesdropping. The Jedi Council wants to meet you immediately, Anakin said, addressing Steve. Master Yoda, Master Windu, Obi-Wan, all of them. They've never encountered anyone from another dimension before. They'll have questions, a lot of questions. I'll answer what I can, Steve replied, standing as the transport banked towards the landing platform. The temple came into view, a massive ziggurat structure that dominated the skyline, all geometric precision and imposing architecture. But General, I need to ask you something first. Anakin's expression became guarded. Ask. These men, Steve gestured to Rex's squad, they fight for the Republic. They die for it. But do they have any rights? Any protections? Any say in how they're used? Anakin's face showed genuine discomfort. They're clone troopers. They were created by the Republic for war, Steve finished. I know, but that's not what I asked. In this democracy you're defending, do the people who do the actual fighting have any voice in what they're fighting for? The transport settled onto the landing platform with a gentle thud. The rear doors opened, revealing Jedi Temple guards in ceremonial armor and several robed figures. Jedi, Steve assumed, waiting to receive them. Anakin met Steve's gaze, and for a moment, the young general's confident facade cracked. That's a complicated question, Captain. One I'm not sure I know how to answer. Then maybe it's time someone started asking it, Steve said quietly. As they disembarked, Rex fell into step beside Steve, his voice low enough that only enhanced hearing would catch it. What you said back there about choice and purpose, no one's ever talked about us like that before. Not even the Jedi who actually care about us. The Jedi don't care? Steve asked, keeping his voice equally quiet. Most do, in their way. General Skywalker treats us like soldiers, not equipment. Obi-Wan Kenobi shows us respect, but the Jedi code. Rex struggled for words. They're not supposed to form attachments. They serve the Force, not individuals. We're soldiers under their command, and they value our effectiveness, but we're also expendable, replaceable. There's always another batch growing on Camino. Steve stopped walking, forcing Rex to stop with him. The clone captain looked confused until Steve extended his hand, not for a shake, but placed firmly on Rex's shoulder, the gesture of one soldier acknowledging another as an equal. You're not expendable to me, Steve said clearly, and you're not replaceable. I don't care how many clones they grow on Camino or anywhere else. Each of you is an individual with value that has nothing to do with your combat effectiveness. You understand me, Captain? Rex stared at him for a long moment, his carefully constructed military composure wavering. Then he nodded, once, sharply. Understood, sir, and... He hesitated, then continued. Thank you for seeing us. "Rex," Anakin called from ahead. "Bring Captain Rogers." The council's waiting. As they walk through the temple's grand entrance, Steve took in his surroundings with tactical assessment. High ceilings suggesting wealth and power. Jedi Knights moving with purpose through the halls. Younglings, children, barely older than 10, training with those humming energy weapons. More child soldiers, he realized, though these at least seemed to have been selected rather than manufactured. They ascended through turbo lifts to the council chambers at the temple's peak. The doors opened to reveal a circular room with 12 chairs arranged in a precise pattern. 11 were occupied by beings of various species. Humans, aliens Steve didn't recognize, and in one chair that seemed almost comically oversized, a small green creature no taller than 2 feet, with large pointed ears and eyes that held ancient wisdom. "Captain Steve Rogers," the small green being said, his voice raspy but commanding. "Welcome you, we do, to the Jedi Temple. Master Yoda, I am. Questions for you, we have. Many questions." Steve stepped forward, shield held respectfully at his side rather than defensively. He stood at attention, not because he feared these beings, but because he recognized authority when he saw it and respected the protocol of formal introductions. "Masters of the Jedi Council," Steve said clearly, "I'm honored by your welcome. I'll answer your questions as best I can. But I have to be honest with you, I don't fully understand what's happening. Where I come from, we don't have the Force, we don't have galactic civilization, and we definitely don't have clone armies. I'm trying to learn, but I'm going to need your patience." A dark-skinned Jedi with a stern expression and a scar running across his skull leaned forward. "Master Mace Windu I am, and patience we may have, Captain Rogers, but trust must be earned. You appear from nowhere, fight alongside our forces, speak words that question the Republic's military structure, and claim to be from another dimension. You understand why we might be skeptical?" "I do," Steve acknowledged. "If someone showed up in my world claiming they were from another reality, I'd be skeptical too, but I'm not asking you to trust me based on my word alone. General Skywalker and Captain Rex witnessed my combat capabilities. I've demonstrated I'm willing to fight alongside your forces, and I'm standing here, unarmed." He held up his shield. "Well, as unarmed as I get, submitting to your questions rather than running. What else can I do to prove I mean no harm?" A bearded Jedi with a compassionate expression spoke next. "Obi-Wan Kenobi, I appreciate your candor, Captain, and your point is well taken, but we must understand. You speak of being from another dimension. The Force connects all things in our galaxy, yet we sense nothing from you. No Force presence, no connection to the cosmic energy that binds existence. You are absent in a way we've never encountered. It's deeply unsettling." Steve considered this. "In my world, we don't have the Force. We have technology, enhanced humans like me, and a few individuals with abilities we call powers, but nothing like what you describe. If the Force is specific to your dimension, that might explain why you can't sense me through it. I'm literally from outside your system." Yoda's ears twitched, his expression becoming thoughtful. "Dimensions beyond our own, the ancient texts speak of. Realities adjacent to ours, yet separate. Legends, we thought them. Myths of a forgotten age, but here you stand, Captain Rogers, living proof that more exists than what the Force reveals." "The question," Mace Windu said sharply, "is whether that makes you an asset or a threat." "That depends," Steve replied honestly. on what you're planning to do with those clone troopers down there. The temperature in the council chamber seemed to drop several degrees. Several Jedi exchanged glances. Anakin, standing near the entrance, looked simultaneously proud and anxious, as if Steve had just said something both brave and incredibly dangerous. "Explain," Mace commanded, his tone hardening. Steve took a breath, then committed to the path. "In my world, we fought a war against people who believed some humans were genetically superior and could be bred for specific purposes. We called it the most evil thing we'd ever encountered. Now I'm here, and you're telling me you've created millions of human beings in laboratories, accelerated their aging, programmed them for loyalty, trained them from childhood, and sent them to die in a war they never chose to fight. And you call yourselves defenders of freedom and democracy." The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, Obi-Wan spoke, his voice carefully measured. The clone army was commissioned by the Republic to defend against the Separatist threat. Without it, we would have no way to counter their droid forces. The clones serve willingly. "Do they?" Steve interrupted gently. "Or do they serve because they were designed to? Because loyalty was programmed into their genetics? That's not free will, Master Kenobi. That's slavery with extra steps." "Strong words," Yoda said, but his tone wasn't angry, it was thoughtful. "Uncomfortable truths, you speak. Questioned this ourselves, some of us have. But in war, difficult choices must be made." "I know about difficult choices," Steve said. "I've made plenty of them. But I've never convinced myself that using people as weapons was acceptable just because it was convenient. These clones deserve better. They deserve the choice to be soldiers or something else. They deserve to be seen as individuals, not equipment." Mace Windu's expression was unreadable. "You've been in our galaxy for less than a day, Captain Rogers. You don't understand the complexities of the situation." "Maybe not," Steve agreed. "But I understand right and wrong. And I understand that if your democracy is built on the backs of people who never chose to serve it, then maybe it's not worth defending." The words hung in the air like a challenge. Steve half expected to be arrested, expelled, or worse. Instead, Yoda's expression shifted into something that might have been approval. "Courage you have," the ancient Jedi Master said, "to speak truth to power in a room full of those who could destroy you. Respect that, I do, even if comfortable your truth is not." He paused, then continued. "But right, you may be. Blind to the clones' suffering we have been. Too focused on winning the war to question its foundation." "The Senate authorized the clone army," Obi-Wan pointed out. "The Jedi didn't create this situation. We're simply responding to it." "By leading it," Steve countered. "By commanding those clones. By making them better at being weapons. That makes you responsible for them. Not as equipment, as people." Anakin stepped forward, his voice carrying conviction. "He's right, Masters. I've been leading the 501st for months now. I've watched Rex and his brothers fight, bleed, and die. They're not droids. They think, they feel, they have personalities and dreams and fears. We've been so busy using them to win battles that we forgot to ask if that's all they should be." Several council members looked uncomfortable. Others seemed thoughtful. Mace Windu's expression remained stern, but Steve detected a crack in the certainty. "This is a matter for the Senate," Mace said finally, "not the Jedi Council. We're peacekeepers, not politicians." "Are you?" Steve asked. "Because from where I'm standing, you're generals in a military force. That makes you very much involved in politics." Before anyone could respond, Yoda raised one small hand, commanding silence. "Enough, for now. Much to discuss we have. But exhausted Captain Rogers must be. Quarters here in the temple we shall provide. Time to understand this galaxy you need, and time to decide what role you'll play in it. We all need." Steve nodded, recognizing dismissal when he heard it. "Thank you, Master Yoda. Masters, I appreciate your time and your honesty." As he turned to leave with Anakin, Yoda's voice stopped him. "Captain Rogers, the Force you do not touch, but wisdom you possess. Rare, that is. Dangerous, but rare. May need your perspective, we might. Even if uncomfortable, it makes us." Steve met the ancient Jedi's gaze. "I'm a soldier, Master Yoda. I follow orders when they make sense, but I don't follow them when they're wrong. Just so we understand each other." "Understand each other we do," Yoda replied, and something in his expression suggested approval. "Very well indeed." Outside the council chamber, Rex waited with his squad. When he saw Steve, his posture straightened, and Steve recognized the body language. Respect, not for rank or authority, but for someone who'd stood up for them when no one else would. "Captain," Rex said formally, "the general says you're staying in the temple. My men and we'd be honored to serve as your escort, if you'll have us." Steve looked at the 12 identical faces, each one now distinct to him. Rex with his scar, Fives with his goatee, Echo's tattoo, Hardcase's wild energy, not clones, men. "I'd be honored," Steve replied. "Brothers." The word resonated. Steve saw it in their eyes. Shock, gratitude, recognition. He'd called them brothers, not soldiers. Family, not equipment. Rex saluted, and it wasn't the crisp military gesture Steve expected. It was something personal, meaningful. "Brothers," he repeated, "welcome to the 501st, Captain. Welcome to the war." As they walked through the temple corridors, Steve Rogers, a man out of time, who'd become a man out of dimension, realized he'd just chosen his side in a conflict he barely understood. Not Republic or Separatist, not Jedi or Sith. He'd chosen the clones, the manufactured soldiers who deserve better than being treated as weapons. And if that put him at odds with everyone else in this galaxy, well, Steve Rogers had been a rebel before. He could be one again. The quarters assigned to Steve were Spartan but functional. A single room in the temple's residential wing, with a sleeping platform, a small refresher unit, and a viewport overlooking Coruscant's endless cityscape. Night had fallen, and the planet blazed with artificial light. Billions of beings living their lives in vertical stacks that stretched beyond sight. It was beautiful in its way, but also overwhelming. Steve had fought in cities before, New York, Berlin, dozens of others, but nothing approached this scale. He'd removed his uniform's tactical vest and was examining his shield when the door chimed. Enhanced hearing had already told him who it was. Measured footsteps, confident posture, the slight electronic hum of prosthetic components in the right arm. "Come in, General Skywalker," Steve called. Anakin entered, his Jedi robes exchanged for more practical combat fatigues, though his lightsaber still hung at his belt. He carried 2 containers that steamed slightly, and the smell suggested food. "Call me Anakin," the young Jedi said, setting the containers on the small table. "We're off the record here, and you look like someone who hasn't eaten in about 12 hours, so..." He gestured to the food. "Republic rations aren't great, but they're better than nothing." Steve accepted gratefully, realizing Anakin was right. He hadn't eaten since before the Hydra facility, which felt like a lifetime ago. The food was some kind of protein paste with preserved vegetables, bland but nutritious. Soldier food, universal across galaxies. "You made some enemies in the council today," Anakin said, settling into the other chair. "Mace Windu thinks you're dangerous. Several others agree, but Yoda..." He paused, considering. Yoda's interested, and when Yoda's interested in someone, things get complicated. "I wasn't trying to make enemies," Steve replied between bites. "But I also wasn't going to pretend I didn't see what I saw. Those clones are men," Anakin finished. "I know. I've known for a while now. Rex is..." He struggled for words. "Rex is one of the finest soldiers I've ever commanded, and he's more than that. He's my friend, my brother in the way that matters. But the Republic, the Senate, even most of the Jedi, they see clones as resources. Expensive resources, sure, but replaceable." Steve set down his fork, giving Anakin his full attention. "But you don't." "No," Anakin said firmly. "I don't. I was a slave once on Tatooine. Before the Jedi found me. I know what it's like to be owned, to have your life controlled by someone else's decisions. When I look at the clones, I see echoes of that. They're better treated, better fed, better trained, but they're still not free." "Why don't you do something about it?" Steve asked, keeping his tone neutral rather than accusatory. Anakin's jaw tightened, his mechanical hand clenching reflexively. "Because I'm one Jedi Knight in an order of thousands, serving a republic with trillions of citizens. The Senate authorized the clone army. The Jedi Council accepted the role of commanders. The system is already in motion, and changing it would require..." He trailed off, frustration evident. "Would require more power than I have, more influence. The war's here, the clones are fighting. And if I start questioning the fundamental structure of the Republic's military, I'm not helping them. I'm undermining the war effort while they die." "Or," Steve countered gently, "you'd be forcing people to confront an uncomfortable truth before it's too late. Sometimes the war effort needs undermining if it's built on something rotten." Anakin studied him with those intense blue eyes, and Steve felt the weight of assessment from someone who'd seen far more combat than his apparent age suggested. "You're really from another dimension? Another reality?" "Best explanation I've got," Steve confirmed. "In my world, Earth, my planet, is the only inhabited world we know about. No aliens, no galactic civilization, no force. We're still figuring out basic space travel, but we had our own war. Against people called Nazis who believed in genetic superiority and human engineering. They tried to create a master race through eugenics, slave labor, and extermination of anyone they deemed inferior. Millions died before we stopped them." "And you see parallels here," Anakin said, not quite a question. "I see warning signs," Steve replied carefully. "I'm not saying the Republic is evil like the Nazis were, but I am saying that creating millions of human beings in laboratories, programming them for loyalty, accelerating their aging so they're combat ready as children, and then using them as expendable soldiers in a war they didn't choose. That's the kind of thing that seemed justified to the people doing it, right up until history judged them as monsters." Anakin was quiet for a long moment, his mechanical fingers drumming against the table. "The Separatists started this war. They're using battle droids, actual machines, not living beings. Without the clone army, the Republic couldn't defend itself. Billions would die under Separatist occupation. or in the chaos of a fractured galaxy, the clones are saving lives. At the cost of their own freedom, Steve pointed out. And what happens after the war? Do they get to choose their own lives, retire, have families? Or do they just get recycled into whatever conflict comes next? I don't know, Anakin admitted, and the honesty was refreshing. No one's talking about after the war. We're too focused on surviving it. But you're right, someone should be asking these questions. Someone should be planning for what comes next. He leaned forward. Is that someone you? Steve considered the question seriously. I don't know this galaxy. I don't understand your politics, your factions, or your force. I'm a fish out of water who got dropped into the middle of your conflict by accident. But I know leadership, I know soldiers, and I know right from wrong. If I can help those clones, help them be seen as people instead of equipment, then yes, I'll do whatever I can. Even if it means going against the Republic, Anakin challenged, against the Jedi Council, against the Senate itself. I've gone against my own government before, Steve said, when they were wrong. Authority doesn't make you right, it just makes you powerful. And power without responsibility, without compassion, without recognizing the humanity of the people you're supposed to protect. He shook his head. That's not something I can follow blindly. Anakin's expression shifted to something between admiration and concern. You're going to cause trouble, aren't you? The good kind, maybe, but trouble all the same. Probably, Steve admitted with a slight smile. But I didn't survive getting frozen for 70 years and fighting aliens in New York just to keep my head down when people need help. These clones, Rex, Fives, Echo, all of them, they're soldiers. That makes them my brothers in arms, and I don't abandon brothers. Even ones you just met? Especially ones who've never had anyone stand up for them before. Anakin laughed, the sound genuine and warm. Obi-Wan was right about you. He said you reminded him of me, too stubborn to know when you're outmatched, too principled to back down when you see something wrong. But also, his expression sobered, also someone who inspires loyalty. Rex already thinks the world of you, his men too. That kind of influence in the wrong hands could be dangerous. And in the right hands, Steve asked, could change everything. Anakin stood, moving to the viewport to stare out at Coruscant's lights. The Force is in flux lately. Master Yoda feels it, Obi-Wan too. Like something fundamental is shifting and we can't see the pattern yet. Then you appear, someone completely outside the Force, someone who can't be sensed or predicted through it. The Council's worried you're a weapon sent by the Separatists or some hidden Sith plot. Are you worried about that? Steve asked. Anakin turned, and his grin was sharp. No, because if you were an enemy agent, you'd have better cover than dimensional traveler from a galaxy without the Force. You'd blend in, manipulate from the shadows, not immediately start questioning the Republic's military ethics in front of the Jedi Council. He paused. You're either the most honest person I've met in years, or you're playing a game so sophisticated I can't detect it. And my instincts say it's the former. Trust your instincts, Steve advised. They've probably kept you alive this long. They have. Anakin returned to the table, his expression becoming serious. Here's what I can tell you about the war, since you're going to be part of it, whether you plan to or not. The Republic is a democratic government, or it was. Thousands of systems represented in the Senate, governed by elected officials and a chancellor. 3 years ago, the Separatist alliance formed, systems that felt ignored or exploited by the core worlds, led by a former Jedi named Count Dooku. They wanted independence, and they built a droid army to enforce it. Steve listened carefully, his tactical mind already identifying patterns. Former Jedi turned separatist leader. That suggests the problem might be deeper than just political disagreement. It is, Anakin confirmed. Dooku fell to the dark side, the corrupting aspect of the Force. He's a Sith Lord now, though we only recently confirmed it. The Sith were supposed to be extinct, wiped out 1,000 years ago by the Jedi. But they've returned, and they're manipulating both sides of this war. We know there's a Sith Master somewhere, controlling Dooku, orchestrating events. We just don't know who or where. So you're fighting a war where the enemy leadership is being controlled by a hidden manipulator, and your own government might be compromised without knowing it, Steve summarized. That's not a military conflict, that's an intelligence nightmare. Welcome to the Clone Wars, Anakin said dryly. It gets better. The Republic's leader, Supreme Chancellor Palpatine, has been granted emergency powers by the Senate to prosecute the war. He's a good man, former senator from Naboo, mentor to me personally, but those emergency powers keep expanding. Every year the war continues, the Senate grants him more authority. Some people worry we're sliding toward dictatorship in the name of security. Steve's expression hardened. In my experience, emergency powers granted during a crisis rarely get returned when the crisis ends, and a war manipulated by hidden enemies can last as long as those enemies want it to. You think the Sith are prolonging the war deliberately? Anakin asked, though his tone suggested he'd considered the same possibility. If I were a manipulator trying to destroy a democracy, I'd create an external threat that forces them to sacrifice their principles for security. Then I'd make sure that threat never quite goes away, so the emergency powers become permanent. Eventually, the democracy surrenders everything that made it worth defending, and you've conquered it without ever revealing yourself. Steve met Anakin's gaze. Has the war gotten closer to ending, or does it just keep escalating? Anakin's silence was answer enough. Before Steve could continue, his enhanced hearing caught rapid footsteps in the corridor outside, clone trooper boots moving at double time. The door chimed urgently, and Anakin's comlink activated simultaneously. General Skywalker, Rex's voice came through with barely controlled urgency. We have a situation. The Senate just authorized an emergency session, and they're calling for the Jedi Council's presence. Something about a separatist attack on Kamino, the cloning facilities. Anakin was moving before Rex finished, his Jedi training taking over. When? Happening now, sir. The Separatists launched a full-scale assault on Tipoca City. If they destroy the cloning facilities, the Republic loses its ability to create new soldiers. Anakin finished grimly. He turned to Steve. Captain, I know you're not officially part of the Republic military, but you need every capable fighter, Steve completed, already grabbing his shield and tactical vest. I'm in. What's the plan? I'm taking a detachment of the 501st to Kamino for reinforcement. We'll link up with the garrison there and repel the assault. Obi-Wan's leading the fleet. Anakin's expression showed both determination and something else. Concern. This isn't going to be like Christophsis. Kamino's where the clones are grown. If you're serious about seeing them as people, not weapons, you're about to see where those weapons are manufactured. All the more reason to be there, Steve said firmly. They met Rex in the corridor, along with Fives, Echo, and a full platoon of 501st troopers. The clones were armed and armored, moving with practiced efficiency that spoke to countless missions executed together. When they saw Steve, several straightened imperceptibly, the kind of subtle acknowledgement soldiers gave to an officer they respected. "Captain Rogers is coming with us," Anakin announced. "He's under my authority, attached to the 501st as a tactical advisor. Anyone has questions, they go through me. Understood?" "Sir, yes, sir," the platoon responded in unison. As they jogged toward the temple's hangar bay, Rex fell in beside Steve. "Sir, you should know, Kamino's not going to be pleasant. The cloning facilities, they're where we come from, where we're made. Most troopers never go back after deployment, seeing it as an adult, understanding what it really is." He trailed off. "I've seen factory farms for people before," Steve said quietly. "In the concentration camps the Nazis ran. I know what industrialized dehumanization looks like. But Rex, whatever I see there, it doesn't change how I see you. You and your brothers are men, regardless of where you came from." Rex's posture straightened slightly. "Thank you, sir. That means more than you know." The hangar bay was organized chaos. Gunships powering up, clone pilots running final checks, Jedi coordinating with Republic officers. Steve saw more Jedi than he'd encountered before, each moving with purposeful grace toward their assigned transports. This was the Republic's military machine in motion, and it was impressive in its efficiency. A bearded Jedi approached, Obi-Wan Kenobi, the one from the Council who'd shown compassion. "Anakin tells me you're joining us, Captain Rogers. I must say, I admire your commitment to diving into an active war zone when you could simply wait here safely." "Not really my style, Master Kenobi," Steve replied. "Besides, if the Separatists destroy those cloning facilities, billions of people across the galaxy might suffer. That's worth fighting for." "Indeed." Obi-Wan's expression became thoughtful. "Though I suspect your interest is also in the clones themselves. Anakin mentioned your perspective on their situation." "I call it like I see it," Steve said. "No offense intended." "None taken. In fact," Obi-Wan glanced around, then lowered his voice. "I find myself agreeing with more of your assessment than I'm comfortable admitting. The Jedi have become complicit in something that contradicts our stated principles. We've rationalized it as necessity, but perhaps necessity is simply another word for convenience when we lack the courage to pursue harder solutions." Before Steve could respond, alarms blared across the hangar. A hologram flickered to life in the center of the bay, a clone commander in soaked armor, his face showing barely controlled panic. "This is Commander Cody on Kamino. The Separatist fleet just broke through the orbital defenses. They're landing assault ships across Tipoca City, and we've got Aqua droids coming through the sea platforms. We're holding for now, but if we don't get reinforcements within the hour." The transmission cut to static, then died completely. Obi-Wan's expression hardened. "All forces, immediate departure. We're moving up the timetable. Anakin, take your detachment through the lower atmosphere approach. Surprise them from below the storm layer. I'll engage the fleet directly and draw their attention." "Master, that's suicide if their entire fleet's there," Anakin started. "Then it's fortunate I have the 212th Attack Battalion and 3 Star Destroyers," Obi-Wan countered. "Go, Anakin, save those troopers, and may the Force be with you." The Jedi Master strode toward his gunship. clone troopers falling in behind him with practiced precision. Anakin turned to his own detachment, his face set in determination. "You heard the man. 501st, we're taking 4 gunships through the storm approach. Heavy resistance expected. Combat drops directly into Tipoca City's training facilities. We hit them hard, fast, and we don't stop until every clanker's scrap metal. Questions?" "No, sir," the troopers responded. "Then let's move out." Anakin sprinted toward the lead gunship, and the 501st followed with the kind of synchronized movement that came from absolute trust in their commander. Steve ran with them, shield secured across his back, his enhanced physiology letting him keep pace with soldiers bred for physical perfection. As they boarded the gunships and the engines roared to life, Steve felt the familiar pre-combat adrenaline, the heightened awareness, the tactical calculations running through his enhanced mind, the absolute certainty that he was exactly where he needed to be. The gunship lifted off, banking sharply through Coruscant's atmosphere, and Steve found himself surrounded by Rex's squad. The clones were checking their weapons, adjusting armor seals, going through pre-combat rituals that soldiers across all dimensions shared. "First combat drop, Captain?" Fives asked with a slight grin. "Not even close," Steve replied, "but first time doing it in a space gunship heading to an ocean planet under Separatist assault." "So that's new." The clones laughed. Genuine human laughter that reinforced Steve's conviction that these men deserved better than being treated as equipment. "Stay close to us when we hit ground, sir," Rex advised. "Kamino's our home, but it's also a death trap if you don't know the layout. Ocean platforms, narrow corridors, storm conditions that'll throw off anyone not bred for it. The Separatists are going to find out why assaulting Kamino was a mistake, but it'll be messy before it's done. Then let's make sure we're the ones left standing when the mess is over," Steve said. As the gunship accelerated toward hyperspace, Steve Rogers, the man out of time who'd become the man out of dimension, prepared for his first true taste of the Clone Wars. Not a skirmish on Christophsis, but a full-scale battle for the future of an army that deserved to be more than weapons. The clones were fighting for the facilities that created them. Steve was fighting for the men those facilities had made. It wasn't the same thing. And in that difference lay everything that mattered. Kamino was a nightmare of water and lightning. The gunship punched through the hyperspace barrier and immediately hit the planet's perpetual storm system. Sheets of rain that hammered the hull like artillery, wind shear that tossed the craft violently enough that even Steve's enhanced equilibrium struggled to compensate. Through the open bay doors, he saw nothing but gray ocean stretching to infinity, gray clouds boiling with electrical discharge, gray rain that fell so thick it was almost solid. "Welcome to home, sweet home," Hardcase shouted over the storm's roar, his voice carrying dark humor. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Steve gripped the crash webbing as the gunship bucked through another wind shear. Beautiful wasn't the word he'd use. Hostile, merciless, the kind of environment that would kill an unprepared human in minutes. And this was where they grew the clones, on a planet so inhospitable that the facilities had to be built on massive stilts above an endless ocean, completely isolated from any natural ecosystem. Of course they did, Steve thought bitterly. Can't have the manufactured soldiers getting ideas about leaving when there's literally nowhere to go. "Approaching Tipoca City," the pilot announced, reading massive enemy presence, Separatist landing craft on multiple platforms, Aqua droids advancing through the lower levels. Republic garrison is holding the clone barracks and training facilities. but they're getting pushed back toward the central core. Through the storm, Steve caught his first glimpse of Tipoca City. Massive white structures rose from the ocean on enormous support columns, all angles and geometric precision. Landing platforms extended like fingers, and even through the rain, he could see the distinctive shapes of separatist landing craft disgorging troops. Explosions bloomed across the city, blaster fire, thermal detonators, the orange flash of something bigger. The garrison was fighting hard, but they were clearly outnumbered. 2 minutes to combat drop, the pilot called. All troops prepare for immediate hostile engagement. The clones moved with practiced efficiency, checking weapons, securing armor seals, testing comm systems. Steve watched Rex's squad transform from men into a precision combat unit, every movement economical and purposeful. They'd done this hundreds of times. For many of them, this would be routine, except they were attacking their birthplace, the facility where they'd been created, grown, trained, and shipped out like products from an assembly line. Steve wondered if any of them felt conflicted about defending it. If destroying Camino meant no new clones, did that represent freedom or the end of their entire people? Captain Rogers. Anakin appeared beside him, moving easily despite the gunship's violent maneuvering. When we hit ground, stay with Rex's squad. They'll keep you oriented and covered. The Aqua droids are designed for underwater combat, tentacles, cutting tools, and they can function in the flooded sections where standard battle droids fail. We need to push them back and seal the breaches before they reach the clone nurseries. Nurseries, Steve repeated, the word tasting wrong in his mouth. That's what you call where they grow the children? Anakin's expression flickered with discomfort. It's the technical term. But yes, there are thousands of clones still in accelerated growth chambers in the lower levels. If the Separatists destroy those facilities... He didn't finish. He didn't need to. Steve's jaw tightened. Children. They were children, even if they were being grown in tanks rather than born naturally. The Separatists were attacking what amounted to a nursery, and that made this more than a military target. It made it mass murder of the most helpless victims imaginable. I'll protect them, Steve said firmly, whatever it takes. I know you will. Anakin ignited his lightsaber, brilliant blue blade that hummed with contained power, and moved to the open bay door. All right, 501st, we're going in hot. Hit the platform, secure the perimeter, and push those clankers into the ocean. For the Republic. For the Republic, the clones roared back. But Steve heard an undercurrent in their voices. For Camino, for our brothers. The gunship dove through the storm, wind screaming around them, and Steve got his first clear view of the battle below. Republic clone troopers in their distinctive white and blue armor were engaged in desperate firefights across multiple landing platforms. Separatist battle droids, the skeletal mechanical soldiers Steve had fought on Christophsis, advanced in overwhelming numbers, their blaster fire creating a deadly crossfire, and among them, something new, sleek, tentacled machines that moved with aquatic grace, their cutting arms slicing through clone troopers with horrifying efficiency. Aqua droids, Rex called out, his voice cutting through the tactical chatter. Watch the tentacles. They'll grab you and pull you into the water. Aim for the optical sensors. That's their weak point. The gunship's door gunner opened up with the ball turret, red energy bolts streaming into the droid formations. Several exploded, but more kept coming. Hundreds of them pouring from the Separatist landing craft like a mechanical tide. "Brace for landing!" the pilot shouted. The gunship slammed onto the platform with a bone-jarring impact that would have injured normal soldiers. The clones were already moving before the craft fully settled. Boots hitting the deck in perfect formation, weapons up and firing. Steve followed Rex out into the storm, shield raised, and immediately the rain hammered against him with physical force. The battle was chaos given form. Blaster fire crisscrossed the platform in every direction. Blue Republic bolts against red Separatist fire, creating a deadly light show against the gray storm. The sound was overwhelming. Weapons fire, shouting soldiers, the mechanical screeching of dying droids, thunder rolling continuously overhead, and beneath it all, the endless roar of wind and rain. "Advance by squads," Rex commanded, his voice carrying through helmet comms. "Fives, take your team left flank. Echo, right flank. Captain Rogers, you're with me. Center, push." Steve moved with Rex's squad, his enhanced reflexes letting him track multiple threats simultaneously. A battle droid raised its weapon toward a clone trooper's exposed back. Steve's shield flew, struck the droid's head clean off, and returned to his hand before the mechanical body hit the deck. Another droid tried to flank from the right. Steve was already there, using his shield to deflect its blaster fire back into its own chest, then following up with a shield strike that crushed its torso. Covering the Captain 6, one of Rex's troopers called, a clone named Kix, the squad's medic. "Sir, your combat awareness is incredible. You're tracking threats we don't even see yet." "Super Soldier Serum," Steve called back, using his shield to protect two clones from a withering barrage. "Enhanced reflexes and tactical processing. Just keep moving forward." They pushed across the platform, the 501st working in perfect coordination. The clones fought with discipline that would shame most professional armies. Steve had known. No panic, no hesitation, just smooth execution of practiced tactics. They covered each other's reloads, communicated threat positions constantly, and adapted to changing conditions without needing orders. But they were also dying. Steve watched a clone trooper, Jesse, he thought, from the distinctive markings, take a blaster bolt to the shoulder. The trooper went down and Kix was already there with medical supplies. Another clone, one Steve didn't recognize, caught a blast to the chest that punched through his armor. He fell without a sound, and there was no time to check if he'd survived. "These are people," Steve reminded himself, anger building as he crushed another droid. Not disposable soldiers, people with names and personalities who deserve better than dying for a government that sees them as equipment. "Captain," Rex's voice cut through Steve's thoughts. "Aqua droids coming up from the water. Form a defensive line." The ocean platform's edge suddenly erupted with mechanical tentacles. Aqua droids pulled themselves up from the depths, water streaming from their bodies, their multiple cutting arms already reaching for the nearest clones. They moved faster than the standard battle droids, more fluidly, and their design was clearly optimized for killing organic soldiers at close range. "Fall back to the blast doors," Anakin commanded, his lightsaber deflecting blaster fire as he moved through the battlefield with impossible grace. "We can't hold the outer platform, Rex. Collapse your perimeter inward." The 501st began a fighting retreat, maintaining fire discipline even as they gave ground. But the Aqua droids were relentless, their tentacles grabbing at clone troopers, trying to drag them toward the deadly cutting arms or simply over the edge into the ocean far below. Steve saw one grab a trooper, Echo, he realized with alarm, and begin pulling him toward the platform's edge. The clone fought desperately, but the mechanical strength was overwhelming. "Echo!" Five screamed, trying to reach his brother. Steve was faster. Enhanced speed carried him across the platform in seconds, shield raised. He slammed the vibranium disc into the Aqua droid's optical cluster with force sufficient to shatter the sensors. The droid's grip loosened and Steve grabbed Echo's arm, yanking him back from the edge with super soldier strength that matched the mechanical opponent. "Thanks, Captain," Echo gasped, regaining his footing and immediately returning fire on the advancing droids. "Thank me when we're not about to die," Steve replied, spinning his shield to deflect a tentacle strike aimed at his head. More Aqua droids were emerging from the water, and the clone garrison was being pushed back toward the facility's interior. Steve saw the blast doors, massive durasteel barriers designed to seal sections of the city, and understood the tactical situation immediately. Once they retreated inside, they'd be fighting in enclosed corridors where the droids' numbers would be even more overwhelming. "General Skywalker," Steve called out, an idea forming. "Those support columns holding up the platform, what are they made of?" Anakin deflected 3 blaster bolts in rapid succession, his lightsaber a blur of blue light. "Reinforced durasteel over a structural framework. Why? Because if we collapse the outer platform sections, we can limit their approach vectors, force them to come at us through choke points we control." Steve pointed with his shield at the support columns. "Can your lightsaber cut through durasteel?" Anakin's eyes widened with understanding. "Yes, but it'll take time and I'll be exposed." He saw what Steve was suggesting and grinned fiercely. "You're going to cover me." "That's the idea." "Rex!" Anakin shouted. "Fighting retreat through the blast doors. Captain Rogers and I are going to buy you time. Move!" "Sir, that's suicide." Rex started to protest. "That's an order, Captain." Anakin was already running toward the nearest support column, lightsaber raised. "Get our brothers to safety." Rex hesitated only a moment, his training warring with his obvious concern. Then he made the command decision. 501st, fall back through the blast doors. Provide covering fire for the General and Captain Rogers. Go, go, go. The clones retreated in good order, laying down suppressing fire that kept the droids occupied. Steve positioned himself between Anakin and the advancing enemy, shield raised, his enhanced awareness tracking dozens of threats simultaneously. Anakin's lightsaber bit into the support column, the plasma blade cutting through durasteel like butter. But it was slow work. The columns were meters thick, designed to support thousands of tons of structure against Kamino's brutal storms. Sparks fountained from the cut, metal glowing white-hot as the Jedi worked. "How long?" Steve called, blocking a burst of blaster fire with his shield. 90 seconds, maybe 2 minutes. Anakin's face was set in concentration, sweat mixing with rain despite the storm's chill. "Can you hold them that long?" Steve looked at the advancing droids, hundreds of them, with more emerging from the ocean every second. Battle droids, aqua droids, even some larger models he hadn't seen before, all focused on the 2 isolated soldiers standing between them and the retreat route. "I held a bridge in Brooklyn against Chitauri for 30 minutes, Steve said, more to himself than Anakin. "I can hold a platform for 2. He charged forward, shield raised, directly into the mechanical tide. The first wave of battle droids went down easily, Steve's shield smashing through their thin armor, his enhanced strength allowing him to throw droids into each other, creating chaos in their formations. But the aqua droids were harder. Their tentacles grabbed at him from multiple angles, trying to immobilize him. And their cutting arms sliced through the air with lethal precision. Steve ducked under a tentacle, came up with a shield strike that crushed an Aqua droid's torso, then pivoted to throw his shield at 3 battle droids advancing on Anakin's exposed back. The Vibranium disc struck all 3 in a perfect ricochet pattern, destroying them, and returned to Steve's hand just in time to block a cutting arm aimed at his throat. 60 seconds, Anakin called, his lightsaber now halfway through the column. The metal was groaning under the stress, the platform beginning to tilt slightly as structural integrity failed. More droids poured from the water. Steve realized they were trying to overwhelm him through sheer numbers. Standard tactic against a superior individual combatant. He adjusted his strategy using the environment. He grabbed a destroyed battle droid and threw it at an advancing Aqua droid with enough force to knock both into the ocean. He kicked another droid's legs out, sending it sprawling into 3 others, creating a temporary bottleneck. But he was taking damage. A blaster bolt grazed his arm, the energy searing through his uniform. A tentacle caught his leg, and he had to smash the Aqua droid's head 3 times before it released him. Another cutting arm sliced across his shoulder, and even super soldier healing couldn't fully negate the pain. 30 seconds. Anakin's voice was strained. Almost there. Steve's tactical mind calculated angles, threats, timing. The droids were closing in from 3 sides now, a coordinated assault that suggested sophisticated programming. He couldn't hold them all, not without. The blast doors opened, and a hail of blaster fire erupted from the interior. Rex and the 501st had set up firing positions just inside, providing covering fire despite the order to retreat. The clone captain's voice came through clear and defiant. "Nobody leaves a brother behind. 501st, light them up." The coordinated fire from the entrenched clones tore through the droid formations, disrupting their assault just long enough for Steve to regain his defensive position. He fell back toward Anakin, shield protecting them both from the returning fire. "Done!" Anakin shouted, his lightsaber cutting through the last section of the column. The support structure gave way with a scream of tortured metal. The outer platform section tilted sharply, gravity taking over as thousands of tons of durasteel and plasteel collapsed toward the ocean. Droids slid and fell, their programming unable to compensate for the sudden loss of footing. Dozens plummeted into the churning sea, and the remaining ones found their approach route suddenly reduced to a narrow bridge of intact platform. "Now move!" Anakin grabbed Steve's shoulder, and they ran together toward the blast doors. The 501st laid down covering fire, their precision shooting destroying droids that tried to follow. Steve and Anakin dove through the doors just as Rex hit the control, and the massive durasteel barriers slammed shut with a boom that echoed through the corridor. For a moment there was relative silence, just the muffled sound of storm and distant battle, and the harsh breathing of soldiers who just survived impossible odds. "That," Rex said, removing his helmet to reveal an expression caught between awe and exasperation, "was the most reckless, brilliant, insane tactical decision I have ever seen, sir. Both of you, sirs." Anakin laughed, the sound slightly hysterical with post-combat adrenaline. "Welcome to how I fight every battle, Rex. You should be used to it by now." "I'll never get used to it, General." Rex turned to Steve, his expression becoming serious. "Captain Rogers, you just held off an entire droid company alone to buy us time. I've seen Jedi Masters struggle with odds like that. What you did out there. He trailed off, shaking his head. I've never seen anything like it. I've had practice, Steve said, accepting a field bandage from Kix for the cut on his shoulder. The medic worked with efficient precision, though his hands trembled slightly. Whether from adrenaline or something else, Steve couldn't tell. But you came back. You disobeyed the order to retreat and came back to cover us. That took courage, Captain. Couldn't leave you behind, sir, Rex said simply. You're one of us now. 501st doesn't abandon brothers. Brothers. The word resonated through Steve, carrying weight he understood completely. These men had accepted him not because of his rank or abilities, but because he'd proven he would fight for them, that he saw them as people worth protecting. The feeling's mutual, Captain, Steve replied, extending his hand. Rex gripped it firmly, soldier to soldier, and around them the rest of the 501st straightened with visible pride. Anakin's comlink chirped, and Obi-Wan's voice came through, slightly distorted by interference. Anakin, we've broken their fleet's formation and destroyed 2 landing ships, but they're pushing hard into the lower levels. We need to reach the clone nurseries before they do. Can you and your detachment hold the upper levels? Negative, Master, Anakin replied, his tactical mind clearly working through options. We're collapsing the outer approaches to create defensible choke points, but the lower levels are vulnerable. Someone needs to get down there fast. I'm sending Commander Cody with reinforcements, but it'll be 15 minutes before they can reach you. There was a pause. Anakin, if the Separatists reach the growth chambers, they won't, Anakin said firmly. Then he looked at Steve, Rex, and the 501st. Captain Rogers, think you can handle another impossible mission? Steve checked his shield. A few new scratches, but the Vibranium was intact and met Anakin's gaze. What do you need? Take Rex's squad and get to the lower levels. Defend the clone nurseries until Cody arrives with reinforcements. There will be droids between here and there, a lot of them, and the lower levels are partially flooded, which means aqua droids in their element. It's going to be the hardest fight any of you have seen. But those are our brothers down there, Rex said, his voice tight with emotion Steve now recognized as barely controlled fear. Cadets, infants, they can't defend themselves. No, Steve agreed, tightening his grip on his shield. But we can defend them. Rex, gather your squad. We're going in. The clone captain's expression showed gratitude, determination, and something approaching hope. Fives, Echo, Jesse, Kix, hard case. You heard the captain. We're going to the lower levels. Check your rebreathers and seal your armor. This is going to be wet work. As the squad prepared, Anakin pulled Steve aside. You don't have to do this. You're not Republic military. You don't owe us anything. I owe those kids down there a chance at life, Steve replied. And I owe your clone troopers the respect of being treated as people instead of equipment. If that means diving into a flooded facility full of droids to save children being grown in tanks, then that's what I'm doing. Simple as that. Anakin studied him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. The Force works in mysterious ways. Maybe it brought you here for exactly this moment. Maybe you're supposed to be the one who shows us what we've been missing about the clones all along. Or maybe I'm just a soldier doing his job, Steve said. But even as he spoke, he wondered. The Tesseract had never malfunctioned like that before. The dimensional rift had deposited him in the middle of a battlefield where clone troopers needed help. And now he was about to defend children who represented everything he'd fought against in the Nazi eugenics programs. except these children deserved protection regardless of how they were created. Maybe there was something larger at work, or maybe it was just coincidence. Either way, Steve Rogers knew his duty. "Rex," he called, "let's move out. We've got children to save." The 501st formed up with the kind of grim determination that came from fighting for family. They weren't defending a military target or a strategic asset. They were defending their baby brothers, and nothing was going to stop them. The lower levels of Tapoca City were a maze of sterile white corridors, circular chambers, and most unsettling of all, observation windows looking into rooms filled with thousands of cylindrical growth tanks. Steve pressed his face close to one window as Rex's squad moved past, and what he saw made his stomach turn. Children, hundreds of them in this room alone, suspended in translucent blue liquid, wearing breathing apparatus, their small bodies in various stages of accelerated development. Some looked like infants, barely formed. Others appeared to be 6 or 7 years old, though Steve knew they'd been growing for perhaps a few months at most. All of them identical, all of them unconscious, being shaped into soldiers before they'd ever had a chance to be children. "Don't stare too long, sir," Five said quietly, his voice lacking its usual energy. "It messes with your head, seeing where you came from, knowing that you were one of those products." "You're not products," Steve said firmly, pulling his gaze away from the window. "You're people. Doesn't matter how you started. What matters is who you choose to be." "Nice thought," Echo replied, his tone carefully neutral. "But choosing requires options. We were designed for one purpose. Everything about us, our accelerated growth, our enhanced combat awareness, our loyalty conditioning, it's all optimized to make us better soldiers. Take that away, and what's left?" Steve turned to face the clone trooper directly. "What's left is a person who gets to decide what comes next. Maybe you stay a soldier because you're good at it and it gives your life meaning. Or maybe you become something else, a teacher, a builder, a father. The point is, it should be your choice, not something decided before you were born." Before Echo could respond, Rex's hand went up in a fist, universal signal for halt. The squad froze instantly, weapons raised, every sense focused forward. Steve's enhanced hearing picked up what had alerted the captain. Mechanical skittering, multiple sources coming from the corridor intersection ahead. "Contact front," Rex whispered into the squad comm. Multiple signatures, could be maintenance droids, but they're battle droids, Steve interrupted quietly, his superior hearing distinguishing the specific servo patterns. "At least a dozen. They're moving slowly, probably searching rooms systematically." Rex glanced at him, impressed. "Enhanced hearing too?" "Complete sensory upgrade. I can hear heartbeats from 20 meters away." Steve readied his shield. "They haven't detected us yet. We can ambush them, but we need to do it quietly. Don't want to alert whatever else is down here." "Agreed." Rex made quick hand signals to his squad. The clones moved into position with silent efficiency, using the corridor's support pillars and medical equipment as cover. Steve noted their tactical spacing was perfect, overlapping fields of fire, fallback positions already identified, no gaps an enemy could exploit. The battle droids rounded the corner, their skeletal frames moving with eerie precision. These were standard B1 models, the same type Steve had fought on Christophsis, but their weapons were upgraded with aquatic modifications. They hadn't spotted the ambush yet. Their limited programming focused on the systematic room-by-room search. Rex gave the signal with 3 fingers. 3, 2, 1. The 501st opened fire with ruthless efficiency. Blaster bolts struck droid optical sensors, severing heads from bodies before the machines could return fire. Steve's shield flew into the formation, taking out 3 droids with a single throw that ricocheted perfectly between targets. Within 5 seconds, 12 battle droids were smoking scrap, and the corridor was silent again, except for the hum of facility systems. "Clean work," Steve observed, retrieving his shield. "You've done this before." "Couple 100 times," Kix replied, moving forward to check for any droids that might have survived. Silent infiltration is standard special operations training, though usually we're not doing it in our own birthplace. They moved deeper into the facility, passing through corridors that Steve realized were designed for efficiency rather than comfort. Everything was sterile, clinical, optimized for mass production. There were no decorations, no personal touches, nothing that suggested this place valued the life being created here as anything more than resources to be manufactured. "This is where we trained," Hardcase said, as they passed a large chamber filled with combat simulation equipment. Tactical drills from age 4, physical conditioning from the moment we could walk, weapons training starting at 6. Every day, all day, until they shipped us to our battalions. "Age 4, Steve repeated, unable to keep the anger from his voice. "You were training for combat at age 4. Accelerated growth, accelerated training," Echo said matter-of-factly. "We hit developmental milestones twice as fast as Natborns. What takes you 18 years takes us 9. We're battlefield ready by age 10, fully mature by age 20, and we'll be old by 40. He said it without emotion, just stating facts. Steve's jaw clenched. Every detail he learned about the clone program made him angrier at the Republic that had commissioned it and the Jedi who'd accepted it without question. These men had been robbed of childhood, robbed of choice, and would die young after lives spent fighting for a government that saw them as equipment. Not if I can help it, Steve thought. These men deserve better, and I'm going to make sure they get it. Rex's fist went up again, this time more urgently. Water ahead, corridors flooded, sealing armor now. The clones activated some kind of environmental seal on their helmets, transforming them into enclosed diving equipment. Steve didn't have that option. His uniform wasn't designed for underwater combat, but his enhanced physiology meant he could hold his breath for far longer than normal humans, and his strength would compensate for water resistance. "I'll manage," Steve said when Rex looked at him questioningly. "Super soldier serum includes enhanced lung capacity. I can hold my breath for about 20 minutes if I'm not exerting myself. Less in combat, but enough." "Sir, that's insane," Five started. "I've fought underwater before," Steve interrupted. Red Skull had a submarine base in the Atlantic. I had to swim through it and breach the hull from outside. "Trust me, I'll keep up." The water level rose as they advanced. First ankle deep, then knee deep. Finally, chest deep. The temperature was cold enough that a normal human would be experiencing hypothermia already. Steve's enhanced physiology simply adjusted, maintaining core temperature despite the chill. Around him, the clones moved through the water with practiced ease, their armor's systems compensating for the resistance. Then they reached the nursery chambers. The room was enormous, at least 3 stories tall, stretching hundreds of meters in every direction, and it was filled with growth tanks. Thousands upon thousands of cylindrical chambers, arranged in precise geometric patterns, each containing a clone at some stage of development. The blue liquid that filled the tanks glowed with bioluminescence, casting eerie light throughout the flooded chamber. "Maker's breath," Jesse whispered, his voice distorted through the helmet comm. "I've never seen the main nursery before. Never knew there were this many of us growing at once." "Tens of thousands," Rex said, his voice tight. "Maybe more. Every one of them our brother. Every one of them worth protecting." Movement caught Steve's attention, his enhanced vision detecting something the others had missed. Droids in the water, multiple contacts coming from the far side of the chamber. "Aqua droids," Rex confirmed, his helmet sensors now registering what Steve had already seen. "At least 20, they're heading for the growth tanks." Steve's tactical mind processed the situation instantly. The Separatists weren't just trying to destroy the facility, they were going for maximum casualties. If they destroyed the growth tanks, thousands of developing clones would die, and the Republic would lose an entire generation of soldiers. It was efficient from a military standpoint. It was also mass murder of the most defenseless victims imaginable. "We stop them," Steve said, his voice carrying absolute conviction. "No matter what it takes, these children don't die today." "Agreed," Rex replied. Then to his squad, "Spread out defensive formation around the tank clusters. Engage Aqua droids at range. Don't let them get close to the tanks. And watch your fire. We can't risk hitting the growth chambers." The squad moved into position with the kind of coordination that came from absolute trust. Steve waded through chest-deep water toward the nearest cluster of tanks, his shield ready. The Aqua droids were advancing like mechanical sharks, their tentacles propelling them through the water with disturbing grace. The first droid broke the surface 20 meters from Steve's position, its optical sensors locked onto him, targeting systems activating. Steve threw his shield with perfect precision. The vibranium disc struck the droid's head, shearing through its reinforced plating, then ricocheted to a second droid before returning to his hand. 2 down, 18 to go. Blaster fire erupted around him as the 501st engaged. The clones had switched to a specialized underwater firing mode, their weapons creating pressure waves that carried the energy bolts through the water. It was less accurate than standard fire, but effective enough at close range. Several Aqua droids sparked and died, their systems shorting out from the energy discharge, but more kept coming. And these droids were optimized for underwater combat. They moved faster in the water than the clones could, their tentacles grabbing at anything they could reach, trying to pull soldiers under or crush them against the chamber walls. Steve dove underwater, his enhanced physiology immediately adjusting. The cold, the pressure, the darkness, none of it affected him the way it would a normal human. He saw an Aqua droid advancing on Kix's position, the medic focused on covering a cluster of infant-stage tanks. Steve swam with powerful strokes, closing the distance before the droid could strike. His shield smashed into the droid's central processor with super soldier strength amplified by water resistance. The machine crumpled, sinking toward the chamber floor. Steve surfaced, gasping for breath. Enhanced lungs were impressive, but he still needed oxygen and immediately identified the next threat. "Captain, on your 6, Fives shouted. Steve spun just as an Aqua droid erupted from the water behind him, tentacles reaching for his throat. He brought his shield up in time to block the cutting arm, but the tentacles wrapped around his legs, pulling him under. Water rushed over his head, and Steve found himself in close quarters combat with a machine designed for exactly this environment. The droid's tentacles constricted, trying to crush his ribs. Human bones would have shattered. Steve's super soldier-enhanced skeleton simply withstood the pressure. He grabbed one tentacle with his free hand and pulled, using strength the droid's designers had never anticipated. Metal sheared, servos screamed, and the tentacle tore free. Steve used the damaged tentacle as a weapon, wrapping it around the droid's optical cluster and twisting. The sensors shattered and the droid's grip loosened as its targeting systems failed. Steve surfaced again, threw his shield at two more approaching droids, and waded toward the nearest clone who needed assistance. "Jesse's in trouble," Rex called. "Southeast quadrant, 3 droids converging." Steve spotted the clone trooper, fighting desperately against overwhelming odds. One droid had grabbed Jesse's weapon arm, another was wrapping tentacles around his chest, and a third was positioning its cutting arm for a killing blow. The clone was fighting with everything he had, but he was losing. Steve pushed his enhanced physiology to its limits, sprinting through chest-deep water at speeds that shouldn't have been possible. His shield flew first, taking out the droid with the cutting arm. Steve followed immediately, hitting the second droid with a shoulder charge that crumpled its torso plating. The third droid released Jesse to engage this new threat, and that was its fatal mistake. Steve grabbed it by its tentacles, spun it around using momentum and super soldier strength, and threw it into a support pillar with enough force to shatter its chassis. Jesse fell back gasping, water pouring from his helmet's vents. "Thanks, Captain," Jesse managed. "Thought I was done for." "Not on my watch," Steve replied, helping the clone to his feet. "You good to keep fighting?" "Always, sir." The battle raged through the flooded nursery. Clones and aqua droids engaged in desperate combat among the growth tanks. Steve moved constantly, his enhanced awareness letting him track multiple threats and protect vulnerable positions. His shield flew again and again, each throw perfectly calculated to neutralize droids without risking the precious tanks. But they were being pushed back. For every droid they destroyed, more emerged from the depths. The Separatists had committed substantial resources to this assault, and it showed. "We can't hold them," Echo called, his position nearly overrun. "There's too many." Steve's tactical mind raced through options. They needed to change the dynamics of the fight, create an advantage the droids couldn't match. His eyes swept the chamber, looking for anything they could use. The support pillars, massive durasteel columns that held up the chamber's ceiling and connected to the water circulation systems, if they could collapse one. "Rex!" Steve shouted. "The support pillar at grid position Delta 7. If we bring it down, it'll create a choke point and funnel the droids into a kill zone." Rex's helmet turned toward the pillar Steve indicated, his tactical computer obviously running calculations. "It'll also risk flooding this entire level and destabilizing the structure." "The structure's already compromised by the Separatist assault," Steve argued. "And if we don't do something, those droids reach the tanks and thousands of your brothers die. Sometimes you have to risk everything to save anything." Rex was silent for maybe 2 seconds, an eternity in combat. Then he made the call. "Hard case, set charges on Delta 7 support. Minimum yield, we just want structural collapse, not detonation. Everyone else, fall back to Grid Charlie and prepare for controlled retreat." "Finally, something fun," Hardcase whooped, pulling demolition charges from his pack and wading toward the pillar with the kind of enthusiasm only a combat specialist could manage when explosives were involved. The 501st began falling back in good order, maintaining fire discipline to cover hard cases approach. Steve positioned himself as the rear guard, his shield absorbing and deflecting fire from the pursuing droids. An aqua droid lunged at him, tentacles spread wide. Steve ducked under its reach, came up inside its guard, and drove his shield's edge through its torso with enough force to punch completely through. "Charges set," Hardcase called. 30 seconds. "Fall back now," Rex commanded. "Everyone behind cover. This is going to be messy." Steve grabbed Jesse, the closest trooper, and physically pulled him toward cover as the countdown ticked. The aqua droids kept coming, their programming not recognizing the tactical shift. They were still advancing on the growth tanks, still focused on their original objective. Detonating in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The explosion was relatively small, carefully calculated to avoid excessive structural damage. But the effect was dramatic. The support pillar groaned, metal screaming under suddenly unbalanced stress, and then the upper section began to collapse. Tons of durasteel and reinforced concrete came crashing down, creating a temporary dam that redirected water flow and caught dozens of aqua droids in the falling debris. The chamber's water level began to drop rapidly as circulation systems tried to compensate. The remaining aqua droids found themselves struggling against changing currents, their advantage in mobility suddenly neutralized. "Now!" Steve shouted, while they're disoriented. The 501st opened fire with devastating precision. Disoriented droids were easy targets, their sensors scrambled by the debris cloud and changing water conditions. Within minutes, the remaining aqua droids were destroyed or disabled, their wreckage settling to the chamber floor. Silence fell, broken only by the sound of water draining through damaged circulation systems and the heavy breathing of soldiers who just survived impossible odds. "Status report," Rex demanded, his voice carrying the exhaustion they all felt. "Casualties. Jesse took damage to his chest plate. Servos are shot, but he's mobile," Kix reported, moving among the squad. "Fives has a cut on his left arm, minor. Everyone else is operational. We're damn lucky, sir." "Not luck," Rex replied, looking at Steve. "Tactical brilliance and a captain who fights harder for clones he just met than most Natborns fight for anything." He approached Steve directly. "Sir, you saved thousands of our brothers today. Maybe tens of thousands. We'll never forget this, never." Steve wanted to deflect the praise, to say he was just doing his duty. But he saw the expressions on the clones' faces. Even through their helmets, he could sense their emotion. For the first time, maybe ever, someone had fought not just with them, but for them, had seen them as worth protecting, not just as tools to accomplish a mission. "You're worth fighting for," Steve said simply. "All of you. And every one of these children growing in these tanks. They deserve the chance to choose who they want to be. We gave them that chance today." Before anyone could respond, Rex's comlink crackled to life. "This is Commander Cody with reinforcements. We've secured the upper levels and pushed the Separatist forces back to their landing craft. What's your status?" "Lower levels secure," Rex reported. "Nursery chambers defended. We took no casualties and neutralized approximately 40 aqua droids, plus support units. Captain Rogers." He hesitated, then continued with audible pride. "Captain Rogers fought like a Jedi, sir. Maybe better. He's earned every clone's respect today." There was a pause, then Cody's voice came back, carrying surprise. "Captain Rogers, the Dimensional Traveler, he's with you." "Affirmative." fighting alongside the 501st. We couldn't have held without him. General Kenobi wants him brought to the command center immediately. Apparently the council has questions. Tell him..." Another pause. "Tell him Commander Cody says any man who fights that hard for clones is always welcome in the 212th. Steve felt something shift in that moment. Not just respect from one squad, but recognition from the broader clone army. Word was spreading. The outsider who saw them as people, who'd defended their nurseries, who'd proven that clones deserve better than being treated as equipment. "We need to move," Rex said, though his tone suggested he'd rather stay with his squad. "Command centers on the upper levels. It'll take about 20 minutes to get there, and we'll need to pass through some areas that might still have droid holdouts." "Then let's not waste time," Steve replied, checking his shield for damage. A few more scratches, but the Vibranium was intact. "Lead the way, Captain." As they moved through the facility, now mostly secured by Republic forces, Steve noticed something interesting. Clone troopers from other battalions would see Rex's squad approaching, notice Steve among them, and straighten slightly. Word had spread through the clone network with remarkable speed. The mysterious super soldier who'd fought at Christophsis questioned the Republic's treatment of clones in front of the Jedi Council, and then defended their nurseries on Kamino. He was becoming something like a legend among the clone army. They passed through a medical bay where wounded clones were being treated. Steve saw injuries ranging from minor burns to severe trauma. Medics worked frantically to save their brothers, and there was something heartbreaking about watching identical faces show identical concern for each other. One clone, a younger trooper, maybe fresh from training, was being stabilized after taking a blast to his leg. His face twisted in pain, and his brother beside him held his hand, offering what comfort he could. Steve approached without thinking, kneeling beside the wounded trooper. "You're going to be fine, soldier," Steve said firmly, using the tone he'd once used with wounded commandos. "I've seen worse injuries in Brooklyn street fights. You'll be back on your feet in no time." The young clone's eyes widened, recognizing Steve from descriptions that must have already circulated. You're Captain Rogers, the one who defended the nurseries." "That's right. My batchmates, they're still in growth tanks down there. You saved them." Tears mixed with pain in the young clone's eyes. "Thank you, sir. Thank you for seeing us as worth saving." Steve gripped the trooper's shoulder gently. "You were always worth saving. Never doubt that." As they moved on, Fives walked beside Steve, his voice quiet. "What you just did, talking to that trooper like he mattered, like his feelings were important, most officers would have just walked past. We're supposed to handle pain without complaint, serve without question. You treated him like a person." "He is a person," Steve replied. "Pain is pain, fear is fear, regardless of where you came from. Anyone who ignores that isn't worthy of leading soldiers." They reached the command center to find organized chaos. Holographic displays showed the retreat of separatist forces, Republic ships in pursuit. Jedi moved among clone commanders, coordinating final mop-up operations. And in the center of it all, Obi-Wan Kenobi stood with Commander Cody and Anakin Skywalker, reviewing tactical reports. Obi-Wan looked up as Steve entered, and his expression showed both relief and something approaching approval. "Captain Rogers, Commander Cody's report suggests you single-handedly prevented a catastrophic loss of clone facilities. Well done." "It wasn't single-handed," Steve corrected immediately. "Rex's squad fought with more courage and skill than any unit I've commanded. They deserve the credit." Rex and his squad straightened with visible pride. Cody, a clone commander with distinctive orange markings, studied Steve with assessment that felt familiar. This was a soldier evaluating another soldier, looking past rank and origin to judge character and competence. The 212th could use someone like you, Cody said finally. General Kenobi speaks highly of your tactical instincts, and any Nat-born who actually respects clones is rare enough to be valuable. I appreciate that, Commander, Steve replied, but I'm not sure where I fit in this war yet. I'm still trying to understand what I'm fighting for. That's honest, at least, Obi-Wan said. He gestured to a private chamber off the main command center. We should speak privately. There are complications you need to understand. Steve followed the Jedi Master, noting Anakin, and both clone commanders came as well. Once the door sealed, Obi-Wan's expression became grave. Captain Rogers, your actions today, both in defending the nurseries and in how you've treated the clones, have created a political situation. The Senate is aware of your perspectives on the clone army. Chancellor Palpatine himself has expressed interest in meeting you. Should I be worried? Steve asked. Perhaps, Obi-Wan admitted. The Chancellor is a good man, but he's also a politician. And politicians tend to view everything through the lens of political advantage. Your status as an outsider with no allegiance to Republic or Separatist makes you valuable. The question is, how will that value be used? Steve's jaw tightened. I'm not a political tool. I'm a soldier. If your Chancellor wants to meet me, fine. But he should know up front, I don't compromise on principles, not for politics, not for strategy, not for convenience. Anakin smiled slightly. That's what I told Obi-Wan you'd say. Master, he's going to be trouble for the Senate, the good kind of trouble. Perhaps, Obi-Wan replied. Or perhaps he's exactly what this Republic needs. Someone who forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves. He met Steve's gaze directly. You've earned the clone's loyalty in a single day, Captain. That's a gift and a responsibility. Use it wisely. I intend to, Steve said. These men deserve better than being treated as equipment. If I can change that even a little, I will. Rex stepped forward. Sir, permission to speak freely? Granted, Captain, Obi-Wan replied. The 501st would like to formally request Captain Rogers as an attached tactical advisor. We know he's not Republic military, but Rex struggled for words, then gave up on formality. He fights for us, not just with us. We need that. All clones need that. Obi-Wan looked at Steve. The decision is yours, Captain. You could refuse, stay in the temple, avoid further combat, or you could accept an official position with the Grand Army of the Republic. But know this, once you commit to this path, extricating yourself becomes nearly impossible. You'd be part of this war in ways you might not anticipate. Steve looked at Rex, at Cody, at the clone troopers visible through the command center windows. Men who fought with courage, died without recognition, and deserved so much more than they'd been given. He thought about the children in those growth tanks, the young trooper with the wounded leg, and Echo's question, take that away, and what's left? Someone needed to show them what was left. Someone needed to prove they were more than weapons. Steve Rogers had spent his entire life standing up for the little guy, the underdog, the forgotten and overlooked. He wasn't about to stop now. I accept, Steve said firmly. I'll serve with the 501st as tactical advisor, but I have one condition. Name it, Obi-Wan replied. Every decision I make, every order I give, It's with the clones' welfare as the primary consideration. Not victory, not strategy, not political advantage. The men. If that conflicts with Republic priorities, I'll follow my conscience over my orders. Silence fell in the chamber. What Steve had just described was grounds for court-martial in any military. It was rebellion in advance, a promise to prioritize personal judgment over command structure. Anakin broke the silence with a laugh. "Master, I think I'm starting to really like this guy." Obi-Wan sighed, though a slight smile touched his features. "Very well, Captain Rogers, but I suspect you're going to make my life significantly more complicated." He extended his hand. "Welcome to the Clone Wars. Officially." Steve shook the Jedi Master's hand, then Rex's, then Cody's. As they returned to the command center to make the official announcement, Steve caught his reflection in a polished Durasteel panel. He looked the same, the super soldier who'd fought Hydra and saved his own dimension. But something had changed. He'd found a new fight, a new cause. And he wasn't going to stop until every clone trooper in the galaxy understood they were more than weapons. They were men, and they deserved to be free.